Hello and welcome, and we have a new Australian chess champion, and that is Rishi Sardana, the first ever player from Canberra to win the Australian Chess Championship. Rishi Sardana only made a draw today with Lai Tri Kien, but because his main rival Fred Litchfield lost on time, he was unable to increase his margin to 1.5 points with 1 round to play tomorrow. So Rishi Sardana is Australian champion. I'll just take you through the game between Su Kai-Ji and Fred Litchfield, which effectively decided the title. Su Kai-Ji played an exceptional game. There was one or two little tactical problems in it, but it really was a strong positional effort. First of all, he played knight c4 with the idea after rook takes, pawn takes, he would go queen d6. Really lovely idea. The point is he's threatening bishop takes on d5, followed by queen takes queen, followed by rook a8 in order to win a piece. If you protect that piece, then knight d6 will win the bishop anyway. And now it turns out that the next move, rook d8, is not that great. In fact, black can force white to execute his threat. Takes, rook a8, rook c7, knight d6, d3, and remarkably this position is winning for black, not white. Now, white can benefit by changing the move order a little bit. For example, knight d6 is not bad, and after d3, king f1, but still after rook here, rook a8, let's say, no, my mistake, sorry, d3, king f1, rook c7, king e1, necessary, otherwise rook c1 check, then king f8, rook here, and now king e7. And the weird thing about this position is that white probably only has one good move here, or maybe two. If rook takes c8, king takes d6. If knight takes here, I suppose actually that's working okay. Maybe we should wait for rook takes c7, in fact. Wonder if we can go rook c2 here. Rook takes c8, rather. And now if rook takes check, king e7, and it's very close to winning for black. Luckily, knight f5 check gets a pawn ending where white can hang on, but it's still quite remarkable that even that is possible. Instead of going for those complications, Litchfield, who was already quite short of time, chose to get an endgame like this, where his bishop is awful, and now it's just a matter of time before the good knight beats the bad bishop. Okay, it's not perfect play here by white at all, but still a very good rook ending. d4, d3 is an excellent idea. Now probably, g5 is okay. King d2. If black plays rook b2 check here, it's probably drawable despite the c pawn, because black's rook will guard the f6 pawn and the king will get in front of the c pawn. It's tricky. He played h6, rook h7. Again, a rook check's not bad, but after f3, one mistake. He can still check on b2 and hope for a draw. Instead, he played rook b5, and after rook takes pawn, he suddenly realized that his position was in trouble. And the reason it's in trouble is rook takes, king here, and suddenly c6, rook here, c7. If you take it, it's a winning rook ending for pawn ending for white. If you don't take it, then rook h7 check, and you will never survive there. The d3 pawn will fall. While thinking about all this, Litchfield lost on time, but he was in fact lost in the final position. So that was the end of his challenge, a really exceptional challenge for the 9th seed for the Australian title. But Sardana certainly deserves it. Anyone who hasn't seen his game yesterday against Solomon, it's well worth a look. Other interesting games today. Stephen Solomon bounced back with a remarkable endgame victory. Here he's been mucking around with his king for move after move. He knows there's no way through, but he gambles a little bit because he's turned black's pawn majority from one with double pawns where it couldn't go anywhere to one which is potentially mobile. And here, Ria Nova not liking something like king here, king up, king here, king here, going for the b pawn, and missing that after g5 it would in fact be an easy draw. She plays h4 instead, and Solomon had calculated this absolutely brilliantly. King up, and now bishop d3 is the only chance. And now instead of grabbing the b7 pawn, which would allow king takes on f5, Solomon goes for the pawn ending, and it turns out that it's not just a pawn ending, it's a very easy queen ending, because you can win the c6 pawn, and Solomon converted very, very easily. So disappointing for Ria Nova, who'd hung on to her position rather well, but just another example of Solomon's endgame class, whereas if you want to see lack of endgame class, you only have to look at the game between Iker Hernandez-Mendez, admittedly only 14 years old, and Aaron Lee from South Australia. The West Australian has an absolutely standard drawing position. You can keep the pin with rook d7, you can play king c1. The one move you cannot play is king e1 because of king e3. And now the threat is mate. You could have given a check first. He'll have to, and go back. And this is a famous position, Philidor position, which is actually very, very difficult to win if black does not know the technique. Now, the technique will involve retreating the bishop to g6 or c6, depending on where the black rook is, then dragging the white rook to the 6th rank, and then going bishop f3 and then bishop e4. But Lee doesn't really know what he's doing around here. Now, the rook is already on that rank, so that's quite encouraging for black. It should be easily winning now with rook e2 check, I think, because the rook hasn't got access to the squares it needs, which are c6 and g6. So, for example, after rook check here, if you run this way, presumably we just run here, and that looks very much like mate in short order. So instead of that, black went back again, so white went back again. Again, rook e2 check would be pretty good. However, bishop d5 played, king d1, bishop c4 instead of bishop e4, recreating everything. And instead of keeping on running with king c1, which would be a draw, a fatal square for the rook, check, and he resigned because king c2 allows bishop d3 check. So not the greatest effort from black as well as white, but once white got the standard drawing position, he really should have known what to do from there. After that, it's always going to be tough. Black's got so many tries, and Hernandez-Mendez just went down. One more game. This is by the Australian Women's Championship, who's had a women's champion who's had a really, really tough run. Leah Rice, 13-year-old, up against the late replacement Haran Salasan from Victoria. So bishop takes e4, played a brave move. To be honest, if white had played bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, queen h6 or h4 immediately, followed by h4, h5 anyway, then it really would have been a strong attack for white. But instead white thought he was winning, or at least forcing b5, but queen d2, a wonderful little tactic. Rook takes, queen takes check, and now b5. And so here, well, the rook is in trouble. Salasan thought he'd found a tricky way to weaken the white pawn structure, the black pawn structure, only to be hit by the wonderful geometrical queen d3 move, and one of the rooks is lost, and that is game over. So Salasan resigned. So Leah Rice will finish the tournament on a decent score, but it's been rather tough for him. Anyway, in the last round, our pairings are going to be Rishi Sardana against another of the prize packets of this tournament, Daniel Melamed. There will be Fred Litchfield against Stephen Solomon, but really it's Sardana's tournament, and all congratulations to him, the new Australian chess champion.